My wife stole our daughter's college money to fund her shopping addiction and wants me to take the blame. Plus updates. Original post. I'm stuck in between a rock and a hard place, and I don't know what to do. And the problem is, I can't discuss it with anyone I'm close with for privacy reasons. I've been with my wife, Andrea, 48 female, and my stepdaughter, Cassie, 17 female for 8 years now. I love them both to death, and Cassie's a very brilliant young woman. Recognizing her potential, me and Andrea decided to put together a college fund for Cassie so she wouldn't be crushed by debt. Over the years, it has amounted to over $200,000. Cassie is aware of this and is banking on it since she's trying to get into an Ivy League. To make a long story short, last week, I found out that almost $170,000 of the money was missing from the account. I freaked out and asked Andrea if she knew anything about it. She teared up and said that she had been spending the money over the years to fund her spending habit. I was furious, but I had a moment of clarity. I've browsed these subs enough to know that an affair was possible, so I asked her if she was having one. She adamantly denied it and offered any proof I needed. Social media accounts, emails, her work phone, everything. She offered to show me the receipts as well. There was nothing that popped out as suspicious, and the math from the receipts added up as well, so I let it go. But we still had the major problem of the money being gone. She described herself as a shopping addict, and the money from Cassie's account was just too tempting not to use. She didn't make excuses, but offered no solutions either. As stated before, I was beyond furious. She ruined Cassie's chances at going to college debt-free and has changed the trajectory of her whole life. I'd asked her to stay with her sister while I tried to figure this out. Cassie was concerned about why she was leaving, but we just said we needed a little bit of space. I asked Andrea to come back home yesterday, and we had an extremely long discussion about how to handle this. She stopped me from talking and asked a favor of me. She asked if I could take the fall for her. For context, her and Cassie don't get along for a variety of reasons, and knowing how independent Cassie is, she will probably leave right after college if not during. In fact, me and Cassie get along very well, and she comes to me for a lot of her issues. Andrea fears this will permanently drive Cassie away, and she doesn't want to lose her. I told her that before we even talk about that, she needed to acknowledge her mistake and own it. She needed to go to individual therapy. We needed couples counseling. She needed to find a shopaholic support group, and that I would be controlling the finances from now on. She said those terms were steep but fair. I said she needed to tell Cassie what she did, apologize, and hope for the best. She refused and said she could never lose Cassie. She said I could survive the mistake, but she couldn't. I told her that in order to even consider me taking the fall, she needs to agree to my terms. I don't know what the hell to do. The last thing I want to do is lie to Cassie, but I don't want Andrea and Cassie to split up forever. And the worst part about this whole thing is that Cassie's life is ruined either way, and I don't know how to replenish the money other than maybe borrowing from my 401k. Do you guys have any suggestions? Divorce is always an option, but I love Andrea despite her mistakes, and me dating at age 52 is next to impossible. Now for the top advice before reading the updates. Perhaps the reason they don't get along is because Cassie recognizes that Andrea is the type to do these kinds of things and guilt-trip others to take the blame, instead of accepting what she has done and how it has impacted her family. Although it may be a tough conversation for Andrea to have now, it might show Cassie that her mom is capable of admitting mistakes and growing. Taking the blame for it and finding out later, in my opinion, might make things worse. Andrea is a widow, and Cassie took the death of her father very hard since she was so young. According to Andrea, a lot of their problems started there out of grief and anger. Then Cassie grew up and she's developed into a bit of tomboy. Andrea is a kind of a girly girl and doesn't relate to Cassie dressing up tomboyish. They don't agree on much. Cassie wants to be a physicist. Andrea wants her to do something that has more money-making potential. Plus, there's usual teenage daughter and mother strife. They have screaming matches that I have to intervene in. Dude, how did you not see that all the money was gone or that your wife was buying all this stuff? To answer your question, I had really nothing to do with the account other than contributing money. I just took her word for it. She showed me statements from time to time, so I had no reason to suspect anything. Plus, we have separate finances, except for a joint account for household expenditures and bills. Although Cassie's my daughter, Officially, I'm only stepdad, so Andrea handles all matters related to her finances unless Cassie asks me for something directly. Also, I wasn't a lone contributor. Her grandparents on both sides contributed as well as my own parents. I only discovered what was going on when my wife left a statement out in the open. I'm now believing she simply pocketed whatever money she got and doctored the statements. I knew the amount that was supposed to be there because a lot of the money came in the beginning. Her grandparents initially contributed $75,000. Mine contributed another $30,000, plus the amount that I added over the years. Don't take from your savings but hers. Make her sell all her belongings. I asked her to take money from her account to pay her back, but she said protecting her retirement is important to her and that she could take out a loan since her credit is excellent. Surprisingly enough, she doesn't run up her credit cards. Now I know how. Also, I'm hesitant to do this. I understand everyone wants her to fight for this, and I do too. However, if I'm to stay with Andrea, I don't want her to have to continue working until she's dead. I would like to enjoy our retirement together. My retirement is very healthy, plus I have a few investments and an inheritance. I could survive the hit. The most important thing is Cassie gets to go to whatever school it is she wants, and don't have to worry about it. But the comments are right. I'm not letting Andrea off the hook. She's going to pay for this, and she will be telling Cassie. Do not take the blame. Your wife admitting her mistake to her daughter is the only way your wife's addiction is going to stop. If she can't admit her wrongdoings to the person it hurts the most, she can't move on from her addiction. To add to that, taking the blame isn't going to improve your daughter's relationship with her mom. It's only going to create a situation where she feels that she has two parents that she can't trust or rely on. Don't take that away from her by turning yourself into another unreliable adult in her eyes. You're looking out for her best interest always, and she should know that. 100% this. Do not take the blame. Your wife made her bed. Make her lie in it. She did this to her own flesh and blood. Don't be your scapegoat. You love Cassie and don't deserve the fallout that will occur. Now for the updates. After everyone in here knocked some sense into me, I realized I can't lie to Cassie. I love her too much, and she deserves the absolute truth, no matter how ugly and hard it is. I will be talking to Andrea and telling her that we need to tell her the truth together as a condition of us staying together, or else I will initiate divorce proceedings and tell Cassie anyway. Also, as someone suggested, I don't need her trying to flip the script on me, so I'll record our interactions going forward. Thanks. Update 2. I want to thank everyone here for really opening my eyes yesterday. You all are right. I need to put Cassie first. And like I said, I'll be telling the absolute truth. Even if she gets mad at me and disowns me, at least I'll know I did the right thing. In addition, I'm going to pay for college myself. I can pull money from a couple of places, such as my retirement and inheritance, so it'll be okay. If I have to live a little frugally during retirement and work a few extra years, then so be it. Cassie's worth it. I honestly doubt her mother is going to sell her stuff, so that's why I'm taking this route. As for Andrea, I've been criticized for wanting to let Andrea off the hook, so to speak, but it's easy to say when really deep feelings aren't involved. That being said, I don't think I can stay with her. What she did is horrendous, and she ruined our daughter's future for addiction. We had a long discussion late last night, and I threatened divorce unless she told Cassie the truth. She begged me not to do this, but I put my foot down, and eventually she agreed, but only if I agreed not to divorce her, and I helped to repair their relationship. I likely won't be doing either. She made her bed, so she can sleep in it. Now for the second story. I killed my dad and I don't regret it. Plus update. I, 27 female, never really had a great relationship with my dad, 55 male. When I was 6 years old, him and my mom went through a nasty divorce. It was so bad my mom had resorted to substances to help cope. It got so bad that she overdosed and had to go to rehab, and I was forced to live with my dad. For the first couple of years, it was great. I was his only child, so I was really spoiled. And it was like that until I turned 9 years old and my dad met his now wife we're gonna call Sherry. I never liked Sherry because I felt like she was trying to steal my dad away from me. Whenever I had a school function, I wanted my dad to come. Sherry always kept him from coming. I ran track and played soccer, and my dad used to always come to my little peewee games, but when Sherry came, it was he had something better to do. Sherry also has kids herself. She has 2 sons and a daughter. I kind of enjoyed having other kids in the house, because being an only child did get boring. I got along great with her kids. Me and her daughter was the same age, and her sons were 2 years older than us, twins. As I grew up, my dad started to grow further apart from me and got closer to Sherry's kids. He would go to school functions, games, recitals, parent-teacher conferences, anything that included parents. He would always show up for Sherry's kids and nothing for me. It gotten so bad that we had to have a meeting with my dad and a guidance counselor because she noticed how my grades would start to slip and how I never participated in anything anymore. And wouldn't you guess it, my dad didn't even show up to the meeting. I started to slowly hate my dad after that and wouldn't even try talking to him anymore. The breaking point for me was my 15th birthday. I'm Colombian, and everyone knows that in the Latin community, the 15th birthday is the most important day for a little girl. During my birthday month, my dad actually started to acknowledge me and we started to plan my quins. And I was the happiest I've been in years. We picked out the venue, my dress, the song me and dad were gonna dance to. We sent out invites, picked out decorations. Everything was going great until a week before the party. Everything was paid for. People already RSVP'd and everything was set in stone. Until my dad announced that we were going on a vacation the day of my quins. I asked him about my party, and he said he canceled it and wanted to go on vacation instead. I pretended to be okay with it and said okay and asked where we were going. Then Sherry laughed and said that I wasn't going with them and that I was going to stay with my grandma instead. After that day, I just decided to give up on any kind of relationship me and my dad could possibly have. I had no more birthdays, no Christmas gifts, and basically had to fend for myself. Which was crazy because my family was rich and was really well off. I had to get a job in order to get new clothes and shoes, hygiene stuff, hair care products, etc. When I turned 18, I moved out and went to live with my grandma and cut off all communication with my dad and his family. I graduated high school and went to college for orthodontics. Years went by and I never spoke to my dad or heard any news about him or his family until I got a call from a hospital. It was about how my dad got into a bad car wreck and he was basically dead and was on life support, and how I was the last person on his emergency call list and that no one else answered. I went to the hospital and they told me the same thing they said over the phone and asked me if I wanted to keep the life support. And without thinking, I said no and said to take him off of it. He killed my spirit and so I pulled the plug on him, and I didn't feel bad at all. It's been years since that day, and I now have a husband with 3 kids that I love to death, and I still don't feel bad about what I did. Now for the top comments. I'm surprised you were even on the list, to be honest. Did he just forget to remove you? Also curious as to how or why no one else answered, as it sounds like the only person he neglected was you. Also, what was the fallout? The rest of his family had to find out at some point that you elected to remove the life support. Not going to lie, this is fairly dark. If he had a DNR, or the doctor said he had no hope, / was going to be a vegetable, then by all means cut it off and walk away. But was that even the case? It sounds like you still have some demons inside you that needs exorcising. You may want to talk to someone about that. To answer your question, to my knowledge, my dad had only 2 people on as emergency contact list, his mom and aunt. My grandmother died a few months before his car wreck, and my aunt was on vacation around that time. I was kind of surprised myself to find out that I was also on the list. Also, he was basically left brain dead after the car wreck, and there was really nothing they could have done. That makes more sense then. Also, he clearly never bothered to update that list, as not even his wife was on it, assuming they were even still together or not in the same car. The worst you did was to deny anyone who did care about him the chance to say goodbye, which if the way he treated you was any indication, it probably wasn't many. Keep trying to live your best. You may also want to edit in that point so people don't think you're some kind of sociopath. So what had happened to Sherry and her kids? Why weren't they on the list? What was their response to the decision? My dad had a will and got Sherry's kids' trust funds, and left some money for Sherry in the house, and split up everything else among some family members. I honestly don't know why they weren't on the list. It was kind of a surprise that I was even on there, and they were upset that I pulled the plug. If he was brain dead, you didn't kill him. In my opinion, that is the kindest thing you can do for them. I thought this was going in a different direction. What happened to Sherry and the other kids? Well, last I heard, Sherry got remarried. Her 2 older sons are also married and have families of their own, and her daughter is a single mom. I mean, where were Sherry and their kids when Dad was in the hospital? No one else answered. Did they explain? Did they care you made a final decision? They weren't on the emergency call list, so they didn't know. Now for the update. So a lot of people was wondering why I was the one that got the decision about ending his life support, and why Sherry wasn't on his emergency contact list, and it also got me thinking. So to give the strangers I let into my life a peace of mind, I decided to call up Sherry's daughter. She's the only one I still keep in contact with, and ask her if she knew anything about that. She told me that Dad and Sherry had gotten divorced like 2 or 3 months before his car accident, and no one knew because they wanted to keep it between the family. Nobody still knows about the divorce except for Sherry and her kids, me, and now thousands of strangers, LMAO. Also, I do want to tell you guys I did have a makeup quiz when I was in college. It wasn't as grand as the one I was supposed to have, but I really didn't care. I just spent it with the ones I loved dearly. Also, I just want to say for the ones who are calling me psycho, that happened a little over 3 years ago, and I am a totally different person now. I've been going to therapy since before that incident, and I have let go of any demons I had inside of me years ago. I've forgiven my dad, and I don't just focus on the bad things he did to me anymore. I only think about all the good times we had, and when he was a pretty decent father to me. Am I the a-hole for walking out the surprise birthday party my family threw for me? I, 26 female, have been married to my wheelchair-bound husband Adam for 2 years now. His disability was a result of a major car accident shortly after we got back from our honeymoon. His injuries were too severe and no one thought he was going to get better. My life certainly changed, because now I have tons of responsibilities, but I'm happy and blessed to still have him in my life. Before the accident, my family used to invite Adam to events and dinners and visit all the time, but not anymore. They don't see him much but help out with our financial struggles. I've been told that being a caregiver is huge and unfair since I'm young. My mom even tried to set me up with a guy named James, her friend's son, by inviting me to lunch with him or giving him my number/social media account. I told her it won't work. I love Adam and will care for him for the rest of my life if I had to. So I put space between me and my family, and said unless they stop bringing James, who was disrespectful towards Adam, around me, I won't visit them. Mom apologized, and I haven't seen James in months, which was a relief. My birthday was days ago, and I had to work that day but planned to celebrate with Adam in the evening. But at 3 p.m., I got a phone call from Mom asking me to stop by once I get off work. I arrived at Mom's house to find my entire family there setting up a surprise birthday party. I was thrilled, as I didn't think they'd even pay for a party after already helping me with money. Then I asked if I could go bring Adam so we could celebrate together, but they stalled, saying my brother will bring him. And that's when the door rang and there was James. I was confused. I asked what he was doing there, and Mom said I should relax as she invited him and his mom. I remained calm and took the gift James brought after so much hesitation. I opened it and there was some jewelry piece. Then I made a snide comment asking if Adam was ever able to afford such piece of jewelry. I just closed the box and gave it back. They insisted I take it, but I grabbed my bag and said I was leaving. Mom said I should stay because the family, sisters, brother, and nephew came together to do this for me. I told her it was rude of her to catch off guard and invite James to the party. She and Dad followed after I walked out asking me to return, but I just kept walking. Afterwards, Mom and Aunt left messages, saying it was disrespectful to walk out like that after the efforts they made to celebrate my birthday. They said I had plenty of time to celebrate with my husband, and I shouldn't have made a scene and embarrassed them in front of their friends. They said I screwed up and overreacted by being hostile towards those who were trying to be nice and take my mind off the stress. Am I the a-hole? Edit. Haven't told Adam about it, so he wouldn't be burdened with family issues. He's still emotionally recovering and I'm being careful about the stuff that would upset him. I found him asleep when I got home. He usually sleeps as early as 5 p.m. We didn't have a celebration, but talked in the morning. Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole. The James stuff goes far beyond trying to be nice. That's some evil crap right there. It's ironic because you had literally just married your husband, In the vows, there's always that in sickness and in health stuff, and they want you to straight up abandon your husband the second he needs you? What if the situation was reversed and she was in the wheelchair? Would they not expect Adam to help as her husband? I hope his family sucks. Not Dayhall, but at this point, no contact or low contact because they will keep trying. And James is weird. The problem is it sounds like Opie and Adam are dependent on her family financially. Opie, I hope you and hubby have filed for federal disability payments. I know it can be a pain in the butt and take forever, but this is the type of situation they exist for. Not Dayhall. Not even a teeny tiny little bit. But curiosity has me wondering, did you find out if your brother was actually going to get your husband? The answer has no sway in my ruling. I'm just curious. No, my brother never left to go get Adam. This just makes you even more not Dayhall. You're a saint. Your family's absolutely freaking abhorrent. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for canceling my son's birthday party upon discovering that he ruined his stepbrother's deceased brother's hoodie? It's a complex situation, but I'll do my best to explain. I'm male 45, have a bio son Leo 16 from my previous relationship. I married a stepmom who is a mother of 2 boys, Connor, 20 deceased, and Derek, 12. I've never had the pleasure to meet Connor, who tragically passed away from a motorcycle accident. Derek was so devastated by this loss, and although it's been years, he's still pretty much grieving. I've seen tons of pictures and videos of Connor, and made efforts to get to know who he was as a way to share Derek's grief and be there for him to lend an ear and a comforting shoulder. It's safe to say that Derek and I grew a strong bond in no time, but my son Leo isn't close to Derek. Understandable, because not all siblings and step-siblings are the same. Leo and Derek are different in everything, which isn't a bad thing. But Leo calls himself the brutally honest type and makes insensitive comments about Derek most of the time, which tend to be under the guise of advice. Derek never complained, so I had to step in and tell Leo to stop being insensitive towards his stepbrother, especially with everything regarding Connor and his memory. Leo would say, "Okay, I get it, and I won't do it again." Then days ago, Leo wanted to hang out with my friends and asked Derek if he wanted to join. Derek agreed and put on Connor's hoodie before going out. Leo commented on the hoodie and called it ugly and asked him to put on something else, but Derek insisted on wearing it or not go. So Leo dropped it. Hours later, Derek came home crying with his hoodie in his hand. He said Leo and friends cut it into pieces while he was in the bathroom after they convinced him to take it off. I was furious. He asked Leo and he said it was his friend's idea, then said he had to do it since Derek wears it everywhere and it looked old and embarrassing. I reminded him who this hoodie belonged to, and he said, "So what? Maybe this will help him move on in life." I then told him his birthday was cancelled and his friends aren't welcome anymore. He pitched a fit, saying his birthday was a right, not a privilege, and I can't cancel it. He had my ex criticize my decision and wanted to host his birthday party, but I refused because he is grounded, so no party anywhere. She and her family then called me awful and ridiculous, and asked me to thank how Leo will hate me for this, but I insisted he needed punishment for putting his stepbrother through this. Note, the hoodie belonged to Connor when he was younger, and Derek kept it. Not Dayhole. That's a cruel, cruel thing to do. Edit. Just read the ages. At 16, your son did that to a bereaved 12-year-old. Perhaps seek therapy for him? If this story is true, there was something really wrong with a 16-year-old son. His birthday was a right, not a privilege. That may be one of the most entitled things I've ever heard. He did something absolutely terrible, and that hoodie can't be replaced. I cannot believe the complete lack of empathy that he displayed with his actions. What he did to Derek was cruel. He absolutely deserves to have his birthday celebration cancelled. Not Dayhall, and good on you for actually disciplining him even though he's your bio son. For context, there are quite a few AITA posts where a parent will choose their bio child over their stepchild, even when they're clearly in the wrong. He is absolutely right that the birthday is a right. He can have his birthday. Nobody can stop him from turning 17. However, celebrating it is a privilege and not a right. As cruel as he was, he deserves the right to turn 17 without any fanfare. Not Dayhall. Not Dayhall. You're a calmer man than me. If my 16-year-old son did that, I would have lost my mind. What he and his friends did was freaking horrific, and they need to be shown how terrible it was. Canceling of his birthday is a good start, and some serious soul-searching is also in order. Bravo to you for not allowing your ex to interject and throw him a party anyway. We did have a loud argument, trust me, and I lost my temper. But Leo is the type that talks back, so he's the one yelling most of the time. The outcome is the same. I still canceled his birthday because of what he did, and also because his friends aren't welcome to my house for what they did as well. I'd be talking to the parents of the other kids as well. All of these kids need their behinds handed to them stat. I gotta say, some of those kids' parents are enablers. They see nothing wrong with their kids' behaviors, but make no effort to even take time of their day to have a civil discussion about whatever issues I'm dealing with as a result of their kids' behaviors. It is how it is, because Leo tends to be protective of his friends despite them being bad influence. Next story. Am I the a-hole for making my sister leave my house after her joke about my son's mom leaving again? My son Jack is going to be 2 soon. His mom Annie has a complicated history in how this all happened. Her husband passed away, and 3 months after that we slept together. We were barely friends at the time, so I didn't know until after our first night together that she'd recently become a widow. But she told me she was really lonely, and just enjoyed that physical connection. So for about 8 months that's how it was, though we didn't see each other too often. Then we found out she was pregnant. She wanted to go through with the pregnancy, and I fully supported her if that was what she wanted. The thing was, she still had a lot of grief. And when my son was born, it was hard for her to connect with him. She said she felt guilty having a baby with another man after losing her husband. By the time Jack was 4 months, she hadn't gotten any better, and her mental health completely deteriorated. I took over with him full-time after this, since she wasn't in the best place to be a mother. Annie still visited a few days out of the week for a short period, but I was doing most of childcare while she went to therapy. Then she was in the hospital for a while, and she couldn't come over much during COVID except for video chats, so she's essentially become a stranger to him. 3 months ago, she started coming around more after not seeing him for a while. She's on antidepressants, and therapy has helped her a lot. Now she's more set on being a mom, and we're slowly reintroducing him to her. My sister hasn't been happy about this. I know she's upset on my behalf as I struggled a bit as a single parent. She knows the situation that happened with her, but still thinks she shouldn't be allowed back into Jack's life after abandoning him. And yeah, I get her feelings. But since Annie's in a better place mentally, then I want to give a shot at Jack having a mom around. I still have my guard up, obviously, and we're taking it one day at a time, but I see how different she is with him now. Well, my sister hasn't stopped making comments no matter how many times I've told her to knock it off. She dropped by unannounced when Annie was here, and was very openly hostile right in front of Jack. Annie offered to leave, and then my sister jokes, "Make sure you come back this time." I told her to leave, and not come back until she can act right with the mother of my child. My sister is offended that I'm taking her side by kicking her out of my house, since she's only angry on my behalf and it was a joke she made. That's why she thinks I'm an a-hole. But for me, I was thinking I'd rather get her out ASAP before saying something else in front of my son. Was I being an a-hole? Now for the comments. Not an a-hole. You've repeatedly set boundaries with your sister regarding how she treats Annie. Actions have consequences. And this is all affecting, or will eventually affect, the kid. Having his mom be treated poorly by his aunt is not in his best interests. Not an a-hole for a number of reasons. 1. Your child will do best in life if he has a healthy mother. You've done a great job of making this happen for him. 2. Her mother is struggling with her mental health. I doubt your sister would be so judgmental if she had to go away and get treatment for cancer. Her mental health isn't her fault, but it is her responsibility, and it sounds like she has taken responsibility for it and gotten help, which is great. 3. If your sister really cared about her nephew and you, she'd keep her comments to herself. They don't help anyone. It doesn't matter if she's saying them on your behalf. They aren't constructive, like at all. You're a good person, Opie, and a great father. Your kid is lucky to have you, and so is his mom. Keep up the good work. There's so much. Annie didn't abandon her son. She didn't leave because she was fed up with being a mom. She had to go away to become healthier. She wasn't being irresponsible. If anything, she was doing the responsible thing of becoming better so she could be a better mom. Not an a-hole. She didn't abandon him. She realized she couldn't be his mother with the way she was feeling mentally and emotionally, and she did her best to get better. You're an awesome person for having her back and understanding. Also for being such a good dad. Your sister is an a-hole for making jokes when she knows you're okay with Annie being around him. I wish you the best, dude. I guess it's different when you're the one who witnessed everything that happened instead of just being told about it. Me personally, I saw how much Annie struggled, so I want things to be better now so they could have a healthy relationship. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for sitting mother-in-law and father-in-law down and telling them we will not support them in their old age and they can't live with us? My husband's parents have been divorced for 15 years and both remarried within a year or two of splitting. Father-in-law and his wife are not doing well financially. He has a gambling problem, while she has a shopping problem, and they live way beyond their means. I try to mind my own business, but my husband is the only child, and I worry that they think we are going to provide in their old age. Mother-in-law on the other doesn't work. She is married to a man who works in commercial real estate and is very successful. He owns a share of the firm, is semi-retired, and they live very well. We aren't close to mother-in-law. We are civil when we see her a couple times a year, but there isn't much of a relationship. So we decided that we had to talk to father-in-law about his retirement plans in the future. We want him to have fair warning and understand that we are not going to be helping. We decided to talk to mother-in-law as well. Not that she expects anything, but to make it less embarrassing for father-in-law to be fair. We asked them both to lunch and told them that they will never be welcome to live with us and that we are not going to fund them in their old age, so save accordingly. Father-in-law seemed embarrassed but said he understood. But mother-in-law began to get angry and wanted to know why she was there. I explained we were just being upfront, but she kept demanding to know if she had ever asked us for anything. She said we wasted her time. We haven't seen each other since Christmas, and why would she even want to live with people she sees 2 or 3 times a year? She then said she doesn't even like us, which seemed kind of dramatic, then stormed off. I am somewhat friendly with mother-in-law's stepdaughter, and I heard from her that mother-in-law's husband is pissed. He is pretty old-fashioned about gender roles and the man providing, and I guess he took it as a huge insult. Mother-in-law is apparently offended because she thinks I lumped her in with her ex. I think everyone's just being crazy dramatic. You're the a-hole. You took someone out to dinner who never asked to live with you, and who you barely see, just to tell them they were not welcome to live with you? And you're going to sit there and pretend you're completely shocked that they might take offense. Also, you were wasting her time. Waste someone's time to set boundaries that were never needed, then shocked Pikachu face when they're offended. Hey, I just wanted to take you out to dinner to let you know that if you end up needing a kidney transplant and I'm a match, you can't have mine. We organized the special dinner to make an announcement. We will not be helping to plan your funeral or even be in attendance. What, you thought you were getting grandbabies? Haha, no. You're the a-hole. You insulted your mother-in-law just to make her ex-husband more comfortable? Also, you insulted your father-in-law by having a very awkward conversation in front of his ex. Also, why did you even need to be there? Why couldn't your husband talk to his parents alone? How did you think this was a good idea? You're the a-hole. You were incredibly rude to your mother-in-law, and her reaction was totally justified. No wonder she doesn't like you. I just saw this, and I already don't like Opie.